Chapter 12, Public Enemy Number 1. Could it be Satan? In early 1988, multimillionaire and televangelist Jimmy Swaggart was caught patronizing a prostitute in a sleazy motel called the Travel Inn on the outskirts of New Orleans. Of course. Soon thereafter, openly weeping on national TV, Swaggart asked for forgiveness, but would only admit to fornication and vehemently denied having intercourse with the hooker. On February 26th of 1988, Saturday Night Live featured a hilarious skit starring Dana Carvey as the church lady interviewing and berating Phil Hartman, who masterfully portrayed the weeping but still contentious Swaggart. In the skit, the church lady isn't really buying Swaggart's claim that he merely fornicated with the prostitute. However, she famously concludes the interview in the same way she ended every skit, asking Swaggart, "Dear Jimmy, who forced you to misbehave? Could it be Satan? One small investor's public enemy number 1. Could it be code enforcement and local inspectors?" In the aftermath of the pandemic, we were renovating 2 apartment flats that were above and below one another. The scope of work entailed rewiring and replumbing with the addition of washer-dryer connections. For us, this specific upgrade generates a premium in rent that equates to a 33% return on the related cost. Choosing these particular units required us to combine a rare vacancy in one with a relocation incentive in the other, since the noise and nature of the intense work would render both untenable. Due to problems attributed to the faltering supply chain after the lockdown, the job took several extra months to complete. With new tenants screaming to move in, we only lacked a final electrical inspection, which we obtained and passed without issue. However, the CO, Certificate of Occupancy, required a final walkthrough by an all-knowing higher power we nicknamed Albert, not for his girth, but for his superior IQ. Unfortunately for us, Albert contradicted his own department's electrical inspector, who approved a particular exhaust fan in the bathroom of the upstairs unit. Apparently, Albert wasn't familiar with the manufacturer and held up the CO for something that his department had already passed. A sort of civil war erupted within the code enforcement department, which further delayed the final permit. Not only was the apartment spit-shined and otherwise ready for move-in, but the new tenant was threatening to lease elsewhere if we couldn't solve the issue quickly. Appealing to the department head only made matters worse. Albert accused us of making an end run and buried the paperwork. After another 2 weeks, I wanted to flog the guy's backside with a rubber hose. Believe it or not, this was the workaround. I found out Albert's preferred brand of bathroom fart fan. Though the brand was on a 6-month backorder, I had installed them years earlier in another building. I contacted the tenants there, begged and pleaded, and got permission to swap out the fans. This served to appease Albert, and we obtained the CO for the upstairs unit, but not the downstairs one. I held my breath when a different inspector came to repeat the process in the downstairs unit. We sailed through without a hitch until my contractor stupidly made a remark about the fart fan being an issue in a prior inspection. The inspector paused and mentioned that he was okay with the brand we'd installed, which was the older one we'd cannibalized from the occupied apartment, but that he personally preferred whatever brand Albert Einstein was unfamiliar with. I wanted to file a complaint with the mayor's office, but thought better of it. And though inconsistent and incompetent local inspectors can be problematic, I don't consider them to be public enemy number 1. Could it be the insurance industry? After the U.S. government printed over $13 trillion during COVID, inflation quickly went through the roof. For us, water heaters doubled in cost overnight. Appliances and plumbing supplies then followed, as did sheetrock and most construction materials. When our master multi-peril policy renewal showed up on my desk, it entailed a 20% hike in the annual premium. The carrier was Travelers, and my local agent explained that it was related to the inflationary impact on building materials. The next year, inflation dropped dramatically, and building materials seemed to drop from crazy to manageable levels. But there I was, opening the mail to see another 20% increase in my premium. Believe it or not, the same 20% increase happened again just last week for 2025. That means we suffered a 60% increase of this major operating cost category in just 2 years and 1 month. What do you think would happen if I tried to pass all of this on to my tenants? Habitational risk can be tricky at times, especially for rental properties deemed vintage. Despite the fact that our claims history is near perfect, none of Travelers' competitors seem to jump to get our business. As such, I raised the deductibles and saved a few $1,000s. If the trend continues, once I'm mortgage-free, I'll consider self-insuring. But in my experience, insurance is cyclical, and the years where insurers want and even prefer apartments might return and once again result in agents beating down my doors for my business. I just hope it's sooner rather than later. That said, the insurance industry is not my public enemy number one. Could it be the trial lawyers? The television industry loves to sell a lot of prime spots for those cheesy ads by ambulance chasers. Most go something like this. If you've ever had a headache, you may be entitled to compensation. And the ads run nonstop, indoctrinating unscrupulous opportunists and costing much more than the insurance premiums I was just bitching about. Somehow or another, I'm on a friends and associates mailing list for one of the more solicitous firms. They send me monthly newsletters bragging about trends they intend to exploit. Chuckling as I read every newsletter, the blueprint they send me allows for appropriate documentation and counter-process by me and my other investor friends who appreciate the heads up. Before you accuse me of collusion, let me mention that a similarly obnoxious firm sued a BMW dealer for an incident where a newer BMW being repaired in Birmingham led to the discovery of a defective factory paint job. Shit happens. The plaintiffs strategically filed the complaint in a rural county of Alabama solely due to the expectation that a jury there would be anti-business, and they were right. That jury awarded the plaintiff $4,000 in actual damages to go with another $4 million in punitive damages. Small investors and businessmen like me are caught in the crossfire between the insurance industry and the trial lawyers. I hate them both with a passion, but neither are my public enemy number one. Could it be third-party property management companies? If you are considering buying an investment property and think that you can depend upon a third-party management company to increase or even hold the value of your investment, then I suggest you consider a different investment option. A better choice may be to invest in the Haktua Girls meme coin or Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX cryptocurrency. Both offer a better chance for success than relying on a corporate third-party manager. Years ago, I turned over a fully leased and cash-flowing property in Montgomery to an apartment management company that had over 1,000 units in its portfolio. I wrongfully assumed that the critical mass indicated a level of professionalism that would benefit my property's performance. To the contrary, Never in my career have I experienced a more inept and grossly incompetent group of lazy-ass losers in my entire life. A year later, I canceled the contract and got back the keys with a 20% vacancy factor. But after a couple of weeks of simply showing up to meet and tour prospective tenants, I was full again. 50 miles further south in Troy, Alabama, I hired a Century 21 franchisee to manage 24 student apartments. Admittedly, trying to get annual leases when kids are on the semester or quarter system is much like trying to swim against the Gulf Stream. But these losers stole from us in all sorts of creative ways. However, karma is a bitch, as I learned the owner was later invited to spend some time in a small room without windows. Though his fate didn't result from charges I filed, I shed no tears upon hearing about his misfortune. So, is the third-party management the obvious choice as public enemy number one? Nope. Could it be the tax man? That's a good guess. I learned the hard way that loan amortization was taxed at ordinary income rates. The surprise attack, by my accountant, caught me off guard one particular April 15th after I had closed out my books 3 months earlier. There is an old commercial for Fram oil filters that encourages preventative maintenance and frequent replacement of your car's oil filters. The ad's hook was, pay now or pay later. It's the same with taxes. Real estate doesn't allow you to avoid any taxes. It simply provides a depreciation deduction that, potentially, can be used to shelter current income, but it adds to the gain you'll be taxed on when you sell. I bought my first rental property at just 25 years dumb way back in January of 1985. That was a crazy year to get into real estate. At the time, I also worked for a real estate development company that built over 5,000 units in 1984 and 1985, driven almost entirely by tax incentives rather than sound economics behind the deals. High net worth individuals like doctors, lawyers, and televangelists coveted the depreciation write-off made available under the Reagan administration's Economic Recovery Tax Act of 1981. And they eagerly invested in syndications that bought up the apartment complexes we built as soon as they hit an 80% occupancy, which is a terribly low bar. What Uncle Sam giveth, Uncle Sam also taketh away, and did so via the Tax Reform Act of 1986, which disallowed the depreciation and passive loss offsets to the ordinary income of individuals, i.e. investors, not directly involved in the day-to-day operation of the subject investment properties. Though the act had a phase-in timeline that spanned a couple of years, it caused a massive purge in the industry and forced, God forbid, real estate developers to only do deals that made economic sense. Many went out of business, and most significantly reduced their staffing. But our favorite uncle is not my public enemy number one. Could it be the paperwork? If you are inherently disorganized, then don't buy more than 1 or 2 rental properties. If you don't like paperwork, then maybe you should consider a different investment opportunity altogether. For sure, electronic banking, deposit processing, direct payments, tax accounting, etc., has greatly reduced the number of trees I kill every year. But we've likely all experienced inexplicable data disappearance before. So I back up everything that relates to the public enemies cited above, either with hard copies or on USBs that I store remotely. It still takes a hell of a lot of time and process. Because of the aforementioned trial lawyer maggots, I don't want all of my eggs in one basket. So I separated my self-owned management company, the most visible and likely to be sued first, and set up a standalone S-Corp for its form of ownership. As I acquired other assets, I was advised by my real estate lawyer, he's one of the good guys, to create some insulation by forming multiple limited liability companies, or LLCs, to take title to different or non-contiguous properties. With a filing deadline of March 15th each year for all of my SPEs, special purpose entities, I still cuss the guy every tax season when I'm forced to prepare multiple tax returns. I should blame the trial lawyers instead. That said, if I get sued for $4,004,000 for a scratched car and lose, I'll go to my property key ring and remove just one of the many keys and lay it on the table. Keeping the rest, I sleep better at night knowing I've reduced my exposure to swamp leeches. One year, I simply took my bank statements, checks, and deposit stubs for each entity to my accountants and ended up with an invoice of $62,000 in a year where our gross revenue was just $250,000. Ouch! The following year, I hired a full-time bookkeeper to prepare the preliminary tax forms and schedules other than the depreciation schedules. LLCs are required to file Federal Form 1065, and Sub-S's file Federal Form 1120S. The related salary was only slightly less than what I had paid the accountants to do it all from scratch. But in 2008, with my world imploding, I was forced to eliminate the position and took over the general ledger data input and preliminary Schedule 8825 preparation myself. I'd rather go to the dentist. That said, I've streamlined the process and try my best to input data quarterly, though that rarely happens. But as our portfolio has shrunk, so have our annual transactions, which now fall below 1,500. This means the month of January sucks for me, including weekends, but I get through it and pay myself in Coors Light when the deed is done. I've been tempted to take that case of beer off my taxes as a necessary business expense, but so far I haven't done it. Would you? Without further ado, drumroll, who or what has been my public enemy number one? It's not Satan, but rather regular and periodic illiquidity. As did the Apostle Paul, if your rental property is your sole source of income, then you will likely know what it is to be in need and what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in each situation by refocusing on what my investment objective was from day one: to create wealth over time. If you own real estate and live high on the hog, then you're either a beneficiary of generational wealth, you have an amazing side hustle, I can attest that being a musician doesn't qualify, or you are up to your eyeballs in debt. That lifestyle isn't consistent with building net worth through an appreciating real estate portfolio, and if you seek that lifestyle, don't buy rental property unless you plan to flip it for a profit. I've certainly done that here or there, but always seem to spend, lose, or reinvest the profits without dramatically changing my lifestyle. But I have been able to build value through my long-term apartment holdings. If you enjoy being your own boss and like creating things that have a value to society, then this could be your thing. If you like watching people land on either Park Place or Boardwalk where you bought 4 houses each, then you're on the right track. If you are wired to work hard and expect to be rewarded for it, then by all means, give investing in real estate some strong consideration. For me, I continue to do it because I'm damn good at it, and you can be too. Just know that under certain circumstances, it could be Satan.